Heading top gear wide out as Attrition takes the lead. Attrition a length and a half clear from Kovalika running on. It's Attrition in front of Kovalika. Attrition hanging on from Kovalika, and Attrition won the Hill Stakes.
Welcome to Bet Doctor, behind the curtain look at how pro punters operate. I'm your host Scoot, and I'm joined in the Gold Coast with Bozo the Clown, fresh from his Everest barrier draw attendance. How are you, Bozo?
I'm pretty good, mate. Pretty standard week. We battle on, you know what I mean. What can you do? Just chip away.
Nico Noonan also joins us down in Melbourne town somewhere. Nico?
In the home office, but I'll bring the comedy early to the show. But yeah, it was a big week, wasn't it, with a few antics going on across the week. So I'll just focus on what's happening on the racetrack and probably let you boys sort of go through that, because I missed it completely, the Everest barrier draw. So I only saw a few clips of it on Twitter. But from what I did see, it looked like they were at the circus, so I think Walt's on the money.
Mate, I missed the barrier draw too. I never saw one number come out, but I was at 10-pin bowling, and I actually nearly got thrown out because I was pissing myself for an hour. And at the end of it, I swear to you, I was laughing that hard, messaging here, there, and I didn't know what one horse had drawn. That was the highlight of the whole thing. But I thought the best part was when you saw a few people interviewed afterwards, and they were like literally scared for their lives. They were like, we wanted to leave, but they wouldn't let us. The fumes and the people actually thought someone was going to die, and it was pretty funny.
I think the only saving grace was that it wasn't on free-to-air TV, because from my perspective, the outrage and I guess the publicity that it drew across social media was more embarrassment and dismay from, I guess, the racing crowd, and that's all we sort of follow and interact with on the Twitter sphere. But yeah, I think it's a quite an apt.
Well, everyone's thought it's a circus for a long time, and they just embraced it. But yeah. I don't. If that was their angle, you would say, "Well, too good, great, mate, well done. You've embraced it. Everyone thinks it's a circus. You've finally embraced it." But I think it was actually serious, but they nailed it. I think they nailed it from our perspective. There was not one positive comment I saw anywhere, and then I laugh. You get the usual retweets and quote tweets from the standard people, and the attack they cop now, it's just relentless. Like, something's got to give.
Yeah, it was a sight to behold. And one of the funniest things too, Peter V'landys got interviewed afterwards, and he said, it's going to take something to top it next year. And he just deadpan, like straight as an arrow, said it. So, God.
And then he said, we've got we've locked in a sponsorship with Sorbet for next year because everyone was in here was shitting themselves or something like that. You couldn't he's a funny cat, isn't he? Like, he's just so hard to get, but he just plays off the front foot, doesn't he? There's no back pat. There's no. He's no Jeffrey Boycott. He's swinging for the fences.
Mate, it's unbelievable. So the challenge is now on for Caulfield Racing Club to try and one up it for next year. And I would have thought the lowest hanging fruit for Caulfield is to try and introduce their own Call the Card. And Call the Card is one of the best betting events in Melbourne. And my mail is that the Melbourne Cup Caulfield Card is on live support and maybe just sort of dead in the water. So I think race clubs and Racing Victoria are missing a massive edge, massive trick there. It brings all the big punters down into Melbourne. People always pay their own way to actually get there. You can get on, you can get set for a bet, and that's, I guess, the best thing about the Caulfield Cup and the Melbourne Cup. You actually can get down for a decent bet, where another point on the Everest, they closed the betting. So the final field was 10 a.m. in the morning, and then it was shut for 10 hours until 9 p.m. when the clown show ended, and that's a clown show in itself. You've got Caulfield and Melbourne Cups where you can get on to win a fortune. They've had doubles to win a fortune. The betting's just so big. They've got the Call the Card for the Melbourne Cup. And the sham and the disgrace that the Everest is, it's final field. Everyone's dying to bet. You've bet on it for 12 months and they shut it between 10 and 9 because they don't even have their own trust in their integrity department. It just spits in the face of all punters and bookies, and it just shows how little knowledge they have about how the game works.
But isn't the whole point of a barrier draw, or making a spectacle of a barrier draw, is the transparency angle too, right? So you know, like if I paid 600,000 for a slot, I'd want to see the balls be dropped. You know, it's just too big a gamble not to. So Caulfield Cup's the same. I think it's just a bit weird that the transparency angle's been thrown out the window too. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. And like the cost of whatever that was, whatever. And but the amount of money in turnover that's lost in that 10-hour window is probably significant too, like you're saying. So yeah, it's just it's put on by non-punters, right? There's no one thinking about the betting angle of the race.
The main customer. And the stupid thing is, you get poor old Tim Ryan from the TAB, hands tied all day, and then he says after the barrier draw, "Oh, we've only made one roll here, 2 rolls there." So the market hasn't really changed, and it's not going to change until everyone's allowed to bet, and that's on either Friday at Tristan's at 110% market, or on Saturday morning when the NBLs kick in. So absolute clown show. And the circus, you're right. It's apt, and it's probably what Racing New South Wales, the best that they can imagine, and they think they've done a good job. So mind-blowing, but much of the same, and it's been like that for quite some time. Quick little rewind from last week. The story was Antino. It was a huge Saturday of results for bookmakers, so I'm sure they'll be pretty generous on the reloads this week, I would have thought, because punters were absolutely crying with Mr. Brightside and Broadside and getting over. But Blake Shin's confidence sky high. He tried to do it to one of Gay's horses yesterday.
I'm a dirty rascal or something.
Yeah, I'm a dirty rascal, and the poor thing got punctured at
it was gone by the time Antino took off.
Yeah, but I think everyone was sort of in awe of the ride, but for me, it shines a little bit of a light on one of the biggest black holes in racing. I think trainers are quite stubborn and pretty old school in their beliefs, and Nico's old man's a trainer, so he can talk to this a bit. But I think that the tactics and jockey selection is pretty much shambles, and you just see, as a punter, you just see it day in, day out. And
the difference it can make is so underrated that you can see why we go off our heads a lot. And then they interviewed, and it seems like a non-issue. It's like, they think there's a split inch between them, that they're all top. Well, even if they are, they're suited in different ways, aren't they? Like something exactly like if you put a different rider on Antino, it probably wins with all due respect in this case. And it was interesting to hear Blake say, "I was just looking for a 3-wide cart to creep into it," and then all of a sudden, what happened. But a lot of those jockeys wouldn't have been looking for that, would they? And they can be good jockeys. Put them up the front, they're different. It's jockey selection is probably and you're going to pick on Jay Ford because of the Everest. Like, what's he doing on Private Eye? It's just.
And how's the difference? Like, you've got Waller, who's game on, trying to win the big one with a horse called Land Legend. He flies in Zach Purton, and you can see some of these big drop-in jocks. And I know we're pretty critical, but 1,200 metres at Randwick is a pretty easy assignment versus maybe a Golden Eagle over 1,500 when you draw a skew if barrier, or you're trying to get a UK rider in for the first time. I think it was Lighting from Duman or one of those big hype horses a couple of years ago, and we're all thinking, it's crazy. But big track, 1,200, different story, and there's lots of ex-Australian riders that could just drop in, and they're much better options. So I guess it's just another layer of professionalism. But
you're looking for an X-Factor jockey in X-Factor races, aren't you? Someone who's comfortable in the situation and can make it happen, can find a length on a horse that needs to find a length. You don't need the solid bread and butter jockey in those situations.
100%. Nico, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, your old man's a trainer, and you all the jockey situations, you take pretty strong note of that. What do you think? Do you think we're on the right money?
Yeah, it just depends on intent, doesn't it? In a few of those races, and if you manage to get the right jockey on the right horse, it does make a whole lot of difference. I understand probably the day in and day out bookings, so you got to stay, loyal to the people that help you out with work and jump outs and those kind of things. But yeah, it does make all the difference, the right riders in the right races. We had a bit of a car crash last weekend with a few riders didn't know our horses, and it just didn't go to plan at all. So there's probably that element as well, where you want a jockey that does know the horse. And I think that was probably critical with Blake Shin and Antino. He did know that horse so well from riding in a few other runs, and he just rode him tough. He knew he was going to be able to do that, drop him back in weight, and I thought it was a sensational ride. But yeah, full credit to the horse underneath him, but I think if he hasn't had a few spins on him before that, he probably doesn't do that sort of thing again.
And even riding Caulfield, like the difference in the ride between J-Mac gave broadsiding and he gave Antino, he saved the horse for one effort, let the race unfold and back the horse to hopefully find a cart and work into it. Whereas J-Mac was trying to pull off the miracle from the start, probably doesn't ride there as much, tried to go up the fence, tried to do this, probably just tried a little bit too hard. It was the pear-shaped one. I think he still had to pull off a miracle to win. I'm not saying it was, the difference, but it shows, knowing the horse, knowing the track. Shin's just in ridiculously good form.
I thought it was a bit of a barrow trial from broadsiding, and Geez, Antino just gave me that Caulfield Cup feel. He can sprint for 1,000 metres.
He would have won on the Dirty Rascal run. I joke with that. Where's he going now? Is he going to the Cox Plate?
Who, Antino?
Yeah.
It all sounds like Hong Kong.
No, I think you go to Flemington and then Hong Kong by the sounds of it.
Stay at a mile or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's his going.
I guess that race, basically, like all these horses that are in tomorrow and Saturday, and they'll all be looking for further or whatever. There'll be nothing left for the mile race, will there? Maybe.
Well, and just pick that off and then go over to Hong Kong. Could be easy, but anyway.
Well, if Antino of last week shows up, it'll be easy. Don't worry about that.
It's a fascinating weather forecast for this weekend's races. It looks like Melbourne's going to be wet. There's up to 30 mil going to hit, but my mail says they've left the water off the track, so it needs it. But I think there's still going to be a 5 or a 6 or perhaps a 7, depending on how much sort of hits the Melbourne area, or especially Caulfield. Sydney looks like it's dry. I've got less weather there, so it's about 7 mils. But what you can sink your teeth into is TopSport's 110% markets. You've got Caulfield Cup, you've got Everest, they've got the King Charles, which is great. So all the big horses there, and there's going to be one more bonus race. So we'll tweet out once we know the 4th race, but set your alarm clocks between 3 and 4 o'clock on Friday, and you'll capitalise on those 110% markets. So last week, Tristan got the chocolates with a couple of his favourites getting beat, but it's mouthguard in, and he just keeps extending those 110% markets, which is a good thing. And
the best on the best too, the all ups and stuff. This was awesome.
Yeah, so he's doing his best to drive turnover there, which is great. Donnie is going to start to hunt Eagle Farm. He had no luck last week, 2 losses, but he's got Calipore in the Cup, so it's a 100-1 chance. I saw him at tennis on Tuesday, and he said that might have had a slight issue, Calipore, so hopefully he can bounce back. But beaten 10 lengths, he'd need to turn it around. Nico had a bit of a tricky one at Caulfield last week, but he's found the new fly down at Tassie and Durazo. He's going to have a look at race 9 and 10, so he's going to have a look at the Cup and the Moonga, and then we've got Launceston Friday nights as usual. El Costello was an absolute beauty for you in the
plan, didn't it? Like, Jesus, I've never seen anything more go to plan in my life. Even Tyler playing Dodgem cars with old mate in front, and Josh was just there pissing himself, and Jay was back 27 off the lead as we kind of hoped he would. You'd love a race to go like that once a week for you, wouldn't you?
Oh, Jesus
I still
Christ.
think you'd be underrated. Like, obviously Swift Falcon was the big flashing light run, but El Costello will be up the front again and doing the same thing. He'll be a nightmare in the Spring Champion.
I think he'll be a bit of a headache horse as well. And those other horses, there's a few in that race that were putting in reverse and for a very long way. Fascinating. It's going to be an absolute cracker, the Spring Champion. Can't wait for that one. We've got the Everest and the King Charles from you this week. So you're going to do 7, 8, 9. DK, where's DK? He's on a holiday. He's on the plane. He's back next week. Who takes a holiday this time of year?
Nobody.
Hey?
Mate, him and Brad Davo are probably going fishing together.
Punter?
Yeah, Mug's probably cooking for him. He's the chef on their boat as Davo and DK have gone fishing.
Crazy times, but he's probably prepping the Olympic swimmer, the little fella. I'm going to get in the hot seat for a couple of black bookers for me at Caulfield and Randwick. Attrition saved the day for me last week. I was just absolutely jumping up and down in the hot seat, just saying, hang on, you bloody weak prick, and hold off Kovalica.
What about obviously after
Bo
50
Mertens.
metres, I was headless. And it was like $14 or something, wasn't it? When we were talking about it, gets out to 25.
I got to 30s.
Yeah.
I was just kicking myself I didn't go again. TopSport Steam last week. Jimmy Starr, yes, but it was short. Warby did a typical Warby, and the 5K Bob broadsiding. That punter would be absolutely stinging with
Wasn't that the bet of the week that you wanted in your pocket? My God. 5,000 on the Wednesday for broadsiding.
Especially if you knew J-Mac was going to give it a trial. Speaking of Bob, you've got Bob to win 10K on all the group races in Vic and Queensland. If you slip one into a couple of the King Charles and maybe the Everest, Tristan might even just put that one in the draw, given they look like good betting races. So check out TopSport this weekend if you want to get set for a decent swing. They've got same race multi, protest payout, top fluck. They've got all the good products, so make sure you bet Australian and bet topsport.com.au. As I said, big weather watch, no DK. I'm not going to go out wide. I'm going to have a look at Caulfield, and race 6 is the first one of my black bookers, and this one might upset you guys. And I actually found the Caulfield card quite trivial and a bit lackluster. Here's an interesting race, or a horse that I thought could be suited on a bit of a wet deck. You got the Tassie horse at favourite, GG's Mistruth $4, Amina $5, To Be or Not To Be $7, Zytung $7, Matisse $8, Bengal is $9.52, Down Lizzie is $11, Jellylicious is $19, Exuberance $26, and much better the rest. The majority of the form is coming through the 1200 metre race at the Valley, and the horse I like here has got J Carr on it, way out the back, third last at the Valley in no man's land here, and she actually jumped really well and was sort of midfield and then just got snagged back right out of it. You see Bellatrix Star, who's come out and won since. You got GG's Mistruth, who had to get across heels there. And here she just zooms down the outside, Zytung. And the thing I like about Zytung, I think 1,400 metres is going to be a plus for her. I sort of noted in my black book, must follow this horse 1,400 metres or up the Flemington Straight. The jockey Adriana Xanades, we're going to call her, the Italian male rider that some form guides might has as female. I thought her form was definitely good enough, and with a bit of weather around, I think she'll grow a leg in that. She's got the Manal form with the Mania, her last couple of runs. She beat Bonita Queen on a slow track, and I think at a maiden to win a maiden, she won by about 4 lengths on a heavy deck. So any sting out of the ground for her is plus. I think she's going to be back and wide, and I think you'll be able to run on Saturday. They were swooping there yesterday, and they'll move the rail back in. But I think it'll be a pretty fair track, and Adria Atesny gets a pretty good ride here. I think he's already got a pipe opener early in the day on a $51 chance, so it'll be second look at the Caulfield track. And at $7, I thought she was definitely one suited by 1,400 and the wet deck. But it's a funny little race. I thought Two Done Lizzie could improve, and then the other dangerous rider that might be scratched is Jellylicious. But I thought there was not much between a lot of these horses. And the other horse that sort of half interested me was Matisse from the Freedman Yard. But Zytung I thought was a bit better run than it first up. But Nico, this is your backyard. Any thoughts?
Yeah, backside tongue last start. I thought she looked outstanding in the yard. It wasn't giving much hope with the way she was ridden there. Seems like she'll improve out to 1,400 metres, but that was probably the one knock I had. There was a few other fillies in that race that I thought would improve out of that race with the run. So they might just she might have had the fitness advantage that night, but it's a pretty even sort of field. And if she gets the right run, she'd definitely be in play. I thought Fluent at a big price could definitely run a place, stepping up in distance, just got run off her legs a bit first up. The debut win was really good, rated really well. And I thought Andrea Adzini's first ride, I'm actually backing at Peace Centre. I thought it was a good chance at around 50-1 in the Gothic. So hopefully you can steer that one well.
Might get a treble. Walt, any thoughts on these fillies? You know a couple from Sydney?
Yeah, I know most of them. I'd be worried about Adriana first time around Caulfield. I'd much rather back at 50s in a staying race than Gate 9 in a race like this, where I think the ride's probably going to be a big part of the result. I'll sit and watch this one.
Beautiful. All right. Puntingform.com is the database that I use. It's got all the benchmarks. It's got really good weight comparison tools, and you can just click a couple of drop downs and you can navigate the form and flick through colliding form lines very quickly. And at this time of the year, absolutely critical. So I think it cuts down the time that I used to spend on the form by, I'd say somewhere between 7 to 10 times faster I can do the form thanks to puntingform.com.au. So make sure you check that out. Caulfield Race 9, big weather watch, Caulfield Cup. If you're just tuning
15
in.
15 degrees, Nico. 15, get your beanie out, son.
And about 30 mils going to dump on the track on Friday. So let's have a look at the 2,400 metre Group 1 handicap. Buckaroo favourite $4.60, Elias $7.50, Zardozi $7.50, Land Legend $9.50, Deny Knowledge $12, Satty or Say Daddy, I'm going to call it $13, Warmonger $14, Miramasa $16, in from 61 at the start of the week. Wowee. Youngworth $19 Duke de Sessa, Warp Speed 26, Positivity 31, Circle of Fire 34, Coco Sun 34, Hueta 51, and you got Berkshire Breeze, Frank Gardy, Valiant King, Fancy Man, Caliport on his horse, and Knight's Choice, all $61 or much, much better. So Tristan's betting a keen 121, but he may as well because he's going to be betting 110 on Friday. Nico, I hope you're fresh. It feels like we've been talking for a while. I'm going to run you through the Turnbull, the Metrop, the Might and Power, and the Gordon Stakes, and you can have the floor, mate.
Yeah, well, here's the Turnbull. You got Buckaroo and Ilias coming through this run. I think the question mark on both of these horses is a strong run 2400. You're going to have Deny Knowledge setting up a fast tempo with probably a few others heading forward like Duke de Sessa. Ilias is definitely going to be somewhere near that speed. Maybe Warmonger goes forward. So that would be the knock. This is definitely the premier form, though. They bring in the best form. Via Sustina looks a live chance in the Cox Plate. Young Werther, Duke de Sessa battled on well for 4th and 5th. But yeah, I think there is some reservations on both of those key chances at a strong run 24. Here's the Metrop, Land Legend and Zadozi. There was a bit of contact at the top of the straight. I don't think it necessarily favoured Land Legend either. I know they threw in a protest with Zadozi, but he got a bit off balance there. Love the way he tacked the line. The exact Purton going on is a positive for this horse. I watched one of his replays from his earlier wins overseas, and he did get around a very tight turning track on the synthetic, Melbourne way of going. So I think he'll be able to handle that. Deny Knowledge here, well, just had everything in favour. Perfect ride from Mark Zara, just increased the tempo for about the 1,000 or 1,200 when they come down the railway side, and yeah, had a few things in her favour to win. She has been an improved horse on a Team Friedman. She has been parading better. I think they're getting a lot out of this mare. She's been very relaxed. She's definitely the weight source. She drops from 57 to 50.5 kilos. Problem is she's got the big target on her back. She's going to have to fight them all off over 2,400 metres. She'll run the trip, I think. It's just how much class she has at the end of that, but she does look well in. And then here's Sadati, who run well in this race. The winner is Bruegel in the blue sleeves. He's currently $5 favourite for the Melbourne Cup, but I think he had a bit of a gap between runs here, Bruegel, and just sort of fought them off. Was a tough win, Sadati. My problem with him is he's a bit inexperienced. I didn't want to take that gap there. He's sort of weak to the finish. He's one win. He ran off the track at a key stage. He still won the race, but he was very wayward when he hit the front. And I think the run prior even lost the rider. So he's only had 9 or 10 starts and yeah, doesn't really fully know what the game's about. There's definitely some ability there. But hearing everything from the connection sounds like he may be a better horse in 12 months. There's definitely some ability there. I'm just a bit worried about him from an inside draw, hustle and bustle of a Caulfield Cup that could be quite fast run. He may be sort of similar to Valiant King last year. He just might not have the maturity of a few others. So of all those lead-ups, I think the Metrop is the right form. A strong run 2,400. This is going to be a very strong run 2,400. So I think they have the right platform. Zadozi and Land Legend. Zadozi had one extra run prior to the Metrop compared to Land Legend. So I think he has the improvement to come. She was quicker to the line the last 200, but he beats her. And I think he gets the positive jockey change where she might get a negative. So really wish he drew like 8 or 9 instead of 1. Just going to have to put a lot of faith in Zach Purton, but not often you see him get down to ride these sort of weights. So the push from the camp must be huge for him to get down to 52 kilos as a world-class jockey. And in a race where it is a bit thin for the jockey ranks, I think it's another one of those races you got to put a lot of weight on who's riding these horses. So yeah, I was pretty keen Land Legend. I think he'll handle the track if it's wet. I think he'll handle the Melbourne way of going from what I saw in the early win. I think it was at one of those European synthetic tracks. So I think there's no issues there. And pretty keen on Land Legend at the price. I had him favourite. If he had drawn 8 or 9, I thought he would probably be extremely hard to beat. So at the price, I'm happy to have a good crack there. He goes on top from Zadozi. I think Warmonger's probably the opportunist. If it's a wet track, fast tempo, he'll just keep grinding to the line. And then Buckaroo, I had in for 4th. Not much between him and Ilias. I just don't know about them at strong run 2,400. They're definitely the class horses. I think they'll be in the finish. But if it is a real strong run 24, I think there'll be better stays that could get over the top of them.
Outstanding, Nico, as always. Very succinct professional summary there. Jay Walt, I'll let you have the floor next.
Similar. Yeah, I think there's like 6 chances. I think so. Similar, like Buckaroo, strong 2,400. I agree. Is the big query. Probably draws the best of the gates, and Moreira is certainly a positive. Going to run well. Elias, 21 was a nightmare. If it drew soft 4, 5, 6 and could settle 4th, 5th, 6th, I would have had it nearly a short price favourite. So Timmy's got a little bit more work to do. It does look like they will bust up enough for him to be unlucky not to slot in. So if he sort of slots in, I still think he's serious. Land Legend, 1. Like he either puts him to sleep and he could win by 8, or it could be an absolute train wreck if he starts getting going keen, if they pull up at any stage. But if they roll along with Deny Knowledge like they did last start, that could suit him. And he's got to go around a winner.
Who? Deny Knowledge?
Land Legend has to go around a winner, because if he does everything right, I think he's the one horse who could put 8 on him. Elias has to go around a winner for me, and I think you'll get a better price than what's there. And Adriana on Zardozi, scary. I'd probably chop out it, and then the rest, I just have to play against Buckaroo just because of the price. 420 is just too short. I was with you, Miramasa. You haven't even spoken yet, but it's interesting. It's got that weird setup, maybe third up with a hard run 2400.
Which horse, sorry?
Not ideal, Miramasa, the one you haven't spoken about, what we talked about that was 50s in. It does interest me. And I've got to be against Deny Knowledge despite the weight, same as you. I just think they're going to, either it's going to go too fast in front or something's going to attack it. Something's going to stalk this horse and it's going to be vulnerable, I'd say, especially on the backup of that run last week. That's got to take something out of it too. So as much as I think Grafton Cup form's, probably better than Metrop form, I've sort of got to take it on. So in summary, I think, Land Legend, Elias go round winners for me, definitely. And then probably just waiting to see what the betting does a little bit. Maybe I don't want to lose if Miramasa wins. I just think it's. I did like its run the other day and think that it'll run well at odds.
Yeah, I'm a similar vein of thought to you guys, and I'll just go through a couple of runners at the top of market and pose a couple of questions or queries or doubts that I have in my mind. Buckaroo, I think we're all on the same page there, so sets up really nicely. Question mark over the 2400. I think he ticks the wet track box, but again, makes it even trickier to run the 2400 out. I sort of agree with the Ilias comment. I think, the barrier draws cruelled him there. The two that are probably the most interesting runners are Zadozi. I was just a little bit worried prior to the weather report that she might be now looking for 3,200 metres. But now that the rain's going to come, I'd probably nearly have her in front of Land Legend, where Land Legend, the action of the horse, past form, like Zach Purton, getting down to 53 kilos is a massive upgrade. Like this bloke's had Reece Jones on board, Zach Lloyd. He's had J-Mac in a trial. He's had Tyler Schiller. Some of the riders that he's had on him in these big races, like Zach Purton's like plus. So how does he go, Nico, on a rain affected track? Because all his form's on top of the ground.
Yeah, but he has a bit of form in Europe on sort of good and soft tracks, which are different rated to ours. They're probably more like our soft tracks. So hearing Waller in some interviews, he said that he thinks he'd handle Caulfield, and although he's got a bit of a funny action, he's quite short coupled, I think he said. So those horses can tend to handle the wet tracks quite well. So I think it is a query, but he's got the right sort of breeding to do so. So I think if it's like a heavy 8, then it's a real query. But I think we're probably on a 5 or a 6, where even those horses that are really good wet trackers, there probably isn't still too much between those horses that can just handle and them on a 5 or a 6. But if we're in the 7 or 8 range, well, it is a real query.
A horse like Deny Knowledge is the next in the market, and for me, if there's any rain about, I think that cruels her, and I just don't think she's looking for 2,400. I thought she's a 2,000 metre horse, and a dry deck's right up her alley. So echo Nico's thoughts. She had everything in her go her way last time, but I'd have to risk it, and especially at the price. Sadati, I thought his last 2 efforts have been quite good. To my eye, he looked like he was going to just drop right out, and he's copped a bump, and he scares the life out of me, this runner. But again, on a wet track, I'm still not 100% sure that that's what he wants also. I thought Warmonger's looking for 3,200. Miramasa, I sort of went deep on this horse, as I sort of Waltz mentioned, but last year was a beauty. He in the Queen Elizabeth, he was in a bit of a bumping duel with Duke de Sessa at Flemington that day over 2,600 metres, and he just gave him the big hip and shoulder, and he just put 3 on them. And he's a horse that is definitely going to run the 2,400 metres out strongly, and he's got the beautiful big weight drop that I like, the 60 kilos down to 51 kilos. And if you had a look at Berkeley Square and Kingswood, the Gavin Bedgewood horse yesterday in the Coogee, that was a huge performance with Berkeley Square. The horse was in reverse. There was no speed. He absolutely ran the race of his life, and Kings with the other horse, he looks like a really progressive horse. Now he's in the Bedgegood yard as well. So I think he's very dangerous if the track stays dry or maybe anything worse than a soft 5. I think the wheels might start to come off him, but he's perfectly set up from the Bussett and Young camp. Nico, are you going to say something there? Or?
Oh, yeah, it was just the track. Like he's just hopeless on wet tracks. But if the rain doesn't come as much as people think or the forecast suggests, well, which is a chance given their recent form. He's definitely a horse on a soft 5 or even a good 4. He'd be right. And your calculations that are huge. He's the best roughie if it's a dry track, and he's probably the first horse you pen if it's a soft 7.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And I thought the best roughie if it's a wet track is Duke de Sessa, but everyone's starting to cotton on. And this horse has just got one of those typical preparations where he's just ticking over, slowly coming off in terms of the weights. I got no idea how he's still with your horse there in the Turnbull, Walt Elias. So I had to double take when I saw it was Duke de Sessa, being up in the firing line there, and the fact that he just sort of kept whacking away. And I do note that he got heavily back the last 2 starts as well. So this horse is an absolute duck and is proven way out to 3,000 metres. So if anyone likes a dogfight and a horse and no weight, it's going to be Duke de Sessa because he looks like a different horse now that they've gelded him. But I thought they were the key chances there, and I just think there's a couple other horses that are a bit too slow or a bit looking for 3,200 metres. Otherwise, you did reference Valiant King there, Nico, and said that Sadati was last year's Valiant King. If you have a look at the Caulfield Cup last year, I think a couple of horses or a real slow horse could have been Akuta Sushi fell into Valiant King's lap. So I thought it was a total forgive Valiant King in last year's Caulfield Cup if you go pretty deep. Yeah,
he's trending the right way. I think from what I've heard in the media, it sounds like he's all Melbourne Cup this preparation, and they ran in this race because they thought it might suit him better for the Melbourne Cup. But he has come back a more mature horse. He hasn't really shown heaps this preparation. His Turnbull run was okay, but relative to a few of the others, he was well beaten. But it was a tough race for those back markers to get into it. Like, a few of these staying horses, they've got to try out Sprint Bucker and Via Sistina or wait for age horses. Like, it was just never going to happen. So, yeah, it might be the race, a few of those horses out the back, you could forgive them. And he did run well enough in the race last year. He's another one, if the rain came, it'd probably suit him.
Comparing Saturday to Valiant King the way it was going last year is like comparing Mug Punter to Gordon Ramsay, mate.
Yeah, I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm not sure until I see the track rating on Saturday in terms of what I'll go for. But yeah, there's a couple lines of my thinking. If it's wet and it's a slog, I probably want to be on Sadozi. If it's drier, I probably want to be on Land Legend, and I'm sort of thinking that it's going to be a really fast run race, and I think that suits Land Legend probably more than Zadozi on a dry track. And then if all the Australian form's no good, Sadati can win, and the other horse that looks absolutely ready to go to a new level is Muramasa. But I think it's one of the most even Caulfield Cups that I've seen in quite some time, and it just lacks severe star power.
Well, there's a lot of dead wood. There's probably 75% of the field can't win, but there's not much between the top 25, I guess. So it's a good race. I think it's a good race betting wise, and it is. You've got to be nimble here because conditions will be very important to the outcome. Yeah,
it's a massive amount of rain, so make sure you check all your weather services and watch closely. But we might push the button on our email, I'd say between sort of 12, 1 or 2 o'clock on Friday, and our selections may jump around a bit pending that weather. So I'll give the boys the benefit of the doubt to give their final selections in order. So make sure you check that out, and we'll post it across our social channels because, it's a significant weather pattern, and I think, there's just bloody nothing in this, and track conditions and best ride will go a long way to winning the race. Caulfield Race 10 seems like an easier proposition, at least for Nico, in the Moonga Stakes. And the good thing is War Machine's come out. He's definitely going up to Sydney. And this could be the other 110% market that Tristan offers on Friday. Gentleman Roy's the favourite with the new market, $3.30, Pinstripe $3.40, Aegon $9.50, Ripcord $11. Coast Watch is $13, Globe $14, Mighty Ulysses $14. And then you've got, $17, and then you've got Cosmic Vega Fearsome, $21 or better. The best form, you think, and best suited under these conditions is Pinstriped here, and this is him in Lawrence, Nico.
Yeah, this is super win where he gets over the top of Mr. Brightside. it's the proper form, isn't it? In behind him's Antino. Gentleman Roy's in this race, and I think he showed on this occasion he's a bit better horse than Gentleman Roy, although he was tough back towards the inside. Pinstripe that he's best on all the ratings is a better horse. That's just the query. He had a run last start in the Maccabi Diva where he pulled up lame, and he didn't handle the wet track. But I think I'm going to put that down to, a few things just not going right for him on that day, because if you go back through his early form in his career, he did run very well on some quite soft tracks, and I think he's always been a horse that's appreciated getting his toe in. So if it's not like a heavy 8, well, I think he's a horse that's definitely going to be suited on a 5 or a 6, and I'm just going to back in that the stable can get him back towards his best form. I think he's not that poorly treated under the weight scale here with only 60 kilos. He did win a Group 1 weight for age race, track and distance, 2 starts ago, beating some of the best weight for age horses we have. I know Mr. Brightside, Pride of Jenny, Antino, they've all got better throughout the spring, but if he can replicate that sort of level here, I thought he'd be very hard to beat. And I thought the big advantage for him would be the speed. Gentleman Roy, I don't know if he'll be able to control this race. I think Buffalo River from the wide draw will be sent forward. His problem recently has been stepping slow and then getting crossed. Now he draws, I think it's 16 or 17 after the scratchings. He'll be able to cross from that wide draw. And there was a bit of other pressure there as well. So Gentleman Roy probably doesn't get the advantage of controlling the race. And I think Pinstripe will like that very fast tempo. If that sort of eventuates with Buffalo River Fearson, Air Assault, Gentleman Roy, he can probably just stalk the midfield, get to the right part of the track, which is probably the wider lanes by now. And if he's anywhere near sort of his performances in the Lawrence, where you probably could make a case he should have won that if he runs straight, or if he runs up to his Memsy run, I think he's probably more like a 280 or 270 chance. You are getting a little bit better price just because the fail last up, but it was in the Maccabi Diva. Like we saw Via Sistina go pretty poorly there and come out and win the Turnbull. So I think it's just a race shaft if you give a horse for a bad run. Circle of Fire was the same. He went terrible and he improved in the Turnbull as well. So if we're following that pattern, he should improve on Saturday. And I thought it was probably a bit of a 2-horse race between him and Gentleman Roy. There's a few horses at odds that look in play. Laws of Indices probably one of them that could improve. I thought Aegon is a bit hit and miss, Aegon, but he might find his right setup, wide draw, gets the middle part of the track. He does like wet ground. I probably wouldn't let him go around a loser just at the price, but I think if Pinstripe's anywhere near his best, he wins, and the race shape could set up quite well for him.
I pretty much agree with everything that's come out of your mouth there, Nico. I think you're all over it.
I've got to add something.
What?
Make sure you have a look at Cosmic Vega there, Nico.
Yeah, I liked his jump out. His jump out was good.
I thought it had good ability when it was up with, it was a Doyle, wasn't it? So it'll be an interesting horse to have a look at.
There you go. So maybe add Cosmic Vega into your quaddie league. All right, it's time to have a look at the Randwick card. Again, I think it's going to be a much drier track. I think there's only 7 mil to hit between now and Saturday, so should be racing on a dead or a soft 5 or around that sort of mark.
Hopefully, yeah.
It'd be a nice little change.
Stop some watering it too, which is usually a really good outcome for us.
Race 1 at Randwick is the first black booker that I'm going to sink my teeth into. Allegron is the favourite here, $3.40. Etna Rossa, $5. Waltham is $6. Trust in You, $7. Athabascan, $7.50. Stockman, $8.50. Wycliffe, $9.50. The horse I like here is Trust in You, and I thought he was really good. He's in the blue with the white cross, and he's just getting sort of a bump here from Etna Rossa, and he's just behind Unusual Legacy. And despite being sort of like 3 wide the entire, he hits a line well. And the other horse that you're seeing getting pinballed around is Allegron, back on the inside and back on the fence. But had Allegron not had that interference, I think he would have finished sort of alongside of Trust in You. So I think they're the 2 horses that are set to fight this one out. I expect a positive ride from Rachel King on Allegron from barrier 3, and I don't think that Tom Sherry can or has to go back. This horse has got enough gate speed to sort of push forward, and it looks to my eye that Trust in You will absolutely eat up the 2600. I think he's been in one of the big Kiwi 3,200 metres, the Auckland Cup. He only got beaten 3.6 lengths behind horses like Marjoran and Mark Twain. So the 2,600 metres is going to be no dramas there. But I thought it was an almighty effort just to keep pushing into 4th place there, given how horror of a run he got in the first stages of the race. I do concede that Waltham, it was a forgive last time. I thought he got absolutely butchered by Zach Lloyd in the first light race, but the Colin Stephen versus the Metrop form, I think it's another rung up from that. So I can see why the market's sort of found Waltham $8 into $6, but I'm just backing in the Metropolitan form and think that Trust in You $7 just seems the wrong way around for me. I'd have this horse closer to sort of $3.50 and be vying for favouritism against a horse like Allegron. I'm not sure how you saw this race.
The map's the only scary part, and obviously, pardon me, the rider. If you went back another 200 or 300 metres in that replay, he was on the back of Land Legend, and he kind of got it when it took off. He couldn't, and he had that horse squeezing him on the outside, and then he definitely knocked up late to their Trust in You. So I think it can improve. We sort of said if it had Nash on and you knew it was going forward, you'd be happy to take $3, $2.50. So you just got to sort of pray that Sherry either gives it a dig early or is at least got his wits about him, because it may be difficult to come from last in this race just because they may go so slow. But at least he has that bit of a turn of foot. He ran really well behind, I think it was Elias to start before too, in a completely unsuitable race where they controlled the tempo a bit more and took off, and he sort of got beaten a long way, but I thought it was a good run. Allegron's the obvious danger. It's just, but it's hopefully.
Do you think she'll jam it out? Because there's no real speed in this.
Will, but I did hear Björn was like, yeah, well, hopefully there'll be no excuses this time. So he's obviously a bit grumpy and may ask her to sort of give it a dig to keep it out of trouble potentially, because who else is really going to go forward? Probably Athabaskan. It went forward last start, but that didn't really work for it either. So they'll probably everyone wants to be neutral here. So it's really up for grabs. Even Military Mission, like Gay, would normally take this race by the scruff, but I think they've worked out that horse doesn't really like to be ridden that way. So I would love Trust in You to come out with a little change of tactics and take it sort of out of Tommy's hands a bit and just sort of punch to the front. And I think you found the right horse. Either way, $6, $7, whatever it is has to be a big price. Waltham was butchered, but they went 1 billion miles an hour, and there was absolutely no merit in the back half of that race. So what you saw was certainly flattered, even though he was unlucky. Whereas these races that Allegron and Trust in You were coming out of have both been fast run races where they really have never stopped. You know, they've sort of built off fast tempo. So I think you're right. You found the right race to come out of, and you know, maybe you back Trust in You and save on Allegron and hold on to your hat.
Definitely a race that I'll just be betting up in. And my logic, and it's a bit flawed really, but because it's a different race entirely, but I'd rather take $7 about a horse like Trust in You that's only just finished 3 lengths behind your Zardozis and your Land Legends. And we're not talking about a Caulfield Cup here, and this is a horse that just looks absolutely spot on for 2,600 metres as well. So, and probably has a little bit of fitness improvement left in its locker. So, fascinating tactics, but just an auto bet, Trust in You, and would have been completely chips in if we had a better rider. So, I think Walt makes some valid points there. Randwick Race 7 is the Everest, and the market courtesy of TopSport is I Wish I Win $6, Jolly Star $6, Growing Empire $7.50, Traffic Warden $8, Sunshine in Paris $9, Bella Nipotina $9.50, Steffi Magnetica 14 into 12, I Am Me 18 into $13, Storm Boy $13, $14 Giga Kick, 26 Private Eye, Lady of Camelot 41, and then you got some emergencies there: Southport Tycoon, Overpass, Marzu, and Think About It. Walt, let's have a look at a few of the replays. I'll let you run through the lot. We've got the Moonee Valley run first.
Growing Empire outside leader. Who is there? Anyone else coming out of this race? No.
I Wish I Win.
I Wish I Win, sort of back and wide. Again, I worry about I Wish I Win's last 100 metres here, even though it's probably having a barrier trial blinkers go on. Growing Empire's obviously done a bit more work in the run, gets clear, but you know, look at the Flying V behind, and Southport Tycoon's probably not entitled to win, even though the leader's done a bit of work there. So they're the 2 runs there. Got Marzu outside the leader, who's in this race.
I Am Me, Steffi Magnetica.
Steffi Magnetica cutting up the fence. I Am Me, absolute dream run. Prepped up to win those 2 races. A very different task here. Steffi Magnetica has had a barrier trial since this, but obviously very unlucky here and wasn't suited.
And this is Private Eye down the outside.
Ripping down the outside, just given an absolute barrier trial. So there, yeah, I'd be honing in on the Steffi and Private Eye there.
And this is the Shirako. Sunshine in Paris, you got Jolly Star on her back.
So I like that she's been given a break off this. Jolly Star was second up, so she'd obviously had a good effort first up. But I thought this was a great win. Very hard to overcome this sort of separation, even though they've obviously gone way too hard in front. First up, 1,200. She was caught in an awkward spot on the turn from Mine Sunshine in Paris, and she could have turned it up easily and didn't. And Jolie Star, she's the one that's hardest to line up for me. But it was an okay effort there, and she's obviously trialled well since. They're the ones we're watching.
Yep, that's I think that's the lot. Yeah.
So for me the map's like very tricky. You've got Lady of Camelot's not that fast. These are gay horses. They've ridden Stormboy for speed as well every start, and he's really not that fast. Growing Empire to me is the one with the most speed, but they'll all be probably looking at each other for the first few 100 metres here and not really sure. And even IME could lead if they wanted to, but it probably wants to sit as well. So what's most difficult about that is that I don't really like any of those horses. I think the 3-year-old form is very steady. I don't want to be stuck behind them. So I want to find sort of horses that are going to be just behind them peeling, and then the ones that are going to be peeling off their back. Jolly Star is going to naturally land in a spot like that. I'm hoping that Private Eye, with the change of tactics from Joe, is going to try and punch forward. And, if Rachel overdoes it on Lady of Camelot or she can't get across, I think Private Eye ends up in a good spot there, whether it's one out, one back or the back of her. And then sort of the back of him, I'm hoping that Sunshine in Paris' spot, obviously hoping that not too much rain comes for her. And then, you've got all your other closers that are probably going to be, back and whatever, like Steffi Magnetica and the obvious, I Wish I Wins, and Giga Kick's probably in an awkward spot on the fence. Traffic Warden's in an awkward spot. So I really want to find those horses that are going to blend into the race. And it is a really competitive race. I do have Sunshine in Paris as clearly the horse to beat. I think if the rain doesn't come, it'll start closer to favourite than it is sort of $10 or $11 now. I just think she's the obvious horse. Jolie Star's just tight in betting, but I think she's really dangerous. Hopefully she gets out to sort of $8 or $9. Steffi Magnetic is super scary as well. I didn't like her trial since, but I think she's maybe was a bit scratchy there, and that's why they gave her a spin around. And she's still very dangerous, as is sort of Bella Nipotina if the rain comes, probably more than not. And Private Eye's the other one that I've got to go around and win. It's like 30 to 1. If Jay pulls off the right run, he just profiles so well. He's had 2 barrier trials. 14, I'm calling those races barrier trials, and now he jumps, stays at 12, which is he looks ideally set up for. He's got 1,400 metre mile form. We liked him, was it 2 years ago, wasn't it, in this race? And I think it sets up in similar fashion if he has that bit of luck, and not as confident as we were there, even though Giga Kit ran past us that year. But I think he's a huge price. But yeah, so Sunshine in Paris goes around a winner. Private Eye does just because of the price. I don't want to lose on the race if Jolie Star or Steffi Magnetica win. And they're my things. I think I Wish I Wins not dominant like he was. I understand the nose roll comes off, blinkers come on. Giga Kicks all these horses have to improve, whereas Sunshine in Paris doesn't. Jolie Star doesn't. Steffi Magnetica doesn't really. She probably needs a little bit of luck. They've got to come up to them. So I'm just going with the horses that look more obvious to me, that they're extremely well set up and in good form, and not taking the risk on horses that are similar prices, finding their best form, finding the right lanes and runs that they should have to get. And I'm obviously against the 3-year-olds, but that's my angle.
Bella Nipotina?
Well, I think she's far more dangerous if it's wet and down the outside, and the horses that she's blending off the back of, their wheels are spinning a bit more. Whereas if she has to go back behind all of them, which looks likely, it's going to be a huge task to run past all of them. Yep. And maybe we get a price. What is she? She's about the same price. Is she about $10 or $11 as well?
Yeah, she's about $10. I thought she was a better effort than Giga Kick and anything in the Premier. I thought she was the
If she drew Jolie Star's barrier, you'd have to nearly mark a favourite. I think it's just she probably got the worst of the draw because she has to go back behind all of them. And whereas some of them can cut up underneath, like I Wish I Win and Giga Kick and save ground, she's probably going to have to come around all of them. And I find that a hard task unless it's wet and it's down the middle, and then she comes right into it. But yeah, I hopefully if it's like 5-6, Sunshine in Paris will be my shining light.
I think I know what Nico's going to say, but I'm going to ask him anyway. What do you like, Nico?
I thought it was really tough. The way I sort of looked at the race is I'm going to back the best horse. The best horse is Giga Kick. He has the best ratings. Ooh. He just has to get back to where that level was. He trialled super this preparation. I still think they have a horse. He's a horse that's very big horse. He carries a lot of conditions. So I think he might have needed those first 2 runs. Look at relative SPs, he just has to be in the game here. $4.80 fresh. I know he drifted, and then same last start, he drifted, but still started $3 against Ballini Patino, who looks a key chance. I like Zara going on, and I think they would have really poured the work into him the last week or two to get him cherry ripe for this race. So he is the best horse. He has the best ratings, clearly. They are from, 2 years ago. But if he can get back anywhere near that, I think with the right run, just tagging the speed, I'm going to have something on him. I love Growing Empire. He was just bombed late there by Southport Tycoon. I think in a race where if he has a few more horses around him just to keep him switched on in the finish, I think that probably was his undoing last start. He's got a bit lost out in front by himself. And a few sort of runs prior to that where he just put the field away and clocked off probably didn't help him getting into that Group 1 where he had to be really strong to the line. I think he may end up being the best horse. I don't know if he is right now. Traffic Warden's been in the news with a few issues with his feet, I'm pretty sure. So there's a bit of a question mark there. I Wish I Win is just going, but it has been around Moonee Valley. And if they do get the rain and it's sort of fence off and he's coming down the middle, he'll definitely be a chance. I just probably couldn't back him at $6. Same Jolly Star. Her best of all the horses' recent ratings, she's run the best first up there, 1,200 metre Randwick, then went to Rose Hill. Maybe just getting back to her best at Randwick. But I think the market's probably suggesting that at $6. So I don't know if there's a heap of value there. Really tough race. I think you could make a case for most of these, bar a few of the 3-year-olds. So, yeah, Giga Kick for me. I think I'll get probably $18, $19 on the day, and I'll have something each way in an incredibly tough race.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised with the kick angle, but I thought Growing Empire, 53 kilos, I thought he acquitted himself really well in the Manikato, and yeah, we were sort of thinking he was crazy. Take the easy options. Make sure you put him in the Coolmore instead. But I think this horse just keeps jumping up to the appropriate level. And I like the way that of the speed horses, like the biggest boom was all about Estrella in the start of the spring, and she tailed off and she just got punctured, and he was just still there on the line with Southport Tycoon, and yeah, I think hearing Kieran Maher talk during the week, it sounds like he's absolutely thrived, and I think this race for 3-year-olds sort of sets up at a pretty good time as well, and I can see him going forward in a race that hasn't got a lot of speed. Kay McAvoy, he's going absolutely terribly, but he can bob up in this race. And if he's got a simple instruction just to go forward and sit in the first couple of pairs, I can see him giving the biggest kick. Growing Empire. I reckon the market's going to absolutely hammer him. And then I thought the other horse that is still on the up big time and is Steffi Magnetica. I thought, $14. She just looks like she's miles over the odds. And then Walt's horse, Sunshine in Paris, is probably going to just steam down the outside and blouse me. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, she's just too bomb-proof. Whereas, it's a great race for angles, like you say. Like if you've got the angle I've got that you don't like any of the Melbourne form and the 3-year-olds are pretty steady, you find an angle. If you're like Nico and you're saying, well, really and truly the best form is Giga Kick and I Wish I Win maybe back in their heyday, which is. They potentially can get back to. That's an angle, and then I've got the mares coming from different forms. So it honestly is a really. It doesn't get much better from a betting angles perspective. This race
exactly, yeah, there'll be huge turnover because they'll have the syndicates thinking one thing. It's an interesting point that you made with Traffic Warden Nico. If he's got some feed issues, I thought he was a bit of a lay anyway. He looks way too short. Had absolute PR his last couple of runs, and. Yeah, if he's got feed issues, I could see that horse maybe ballooning out to sort of $20, but he needs it wet.
Yeah, the old like J Mac having his choice, he does, and for him to land on the horse he has too, I think significant too, and that would scare me a little bit with Nico's angle. But he probably did have a little bit of pressure to lean that way if it was a 50-50 call. But obviously that's why it's so short in the market too. Jolly Star. It'd be interesting to see which way it goes. You think it would have to get out a little bit. And if it does, I wouldn't be concerned about it at all. It's just they've just gone up way too tight.
I think the only thing that brings Jolly Star unstuck is the wet track. So
potential, yeah, that's right.
If it's a good rated surface, she's right in the race, and it's just typical Waller buy. Like, she dropped a massive number and then put it in reverse, and then your horse made it look like second rate Sunshine in Paris. But is that real form or not?
She
with
was
Jolly
first
Star?
Up too, right? So you got to sort of they both had a little quiet trial since. If they both go forward off Jolly Star's first up number and what she did, my horse there, that's why I think they're both going to run really well. But it'll be interesting. I hope it's not a bog for this race's case, because I think it's literally a lottery if it is a bog. I think it's just a horrible race, and as I said, sort of Bellany Paterno will probably rip down the outside and beat them all. But yeah, like a 5 or a 6 for this race, it should be an excellent contest.
Yeah, it's a race, that deserves much more than a circus barrier draw, that's for sure. Randwick race number 8 is the Silver Eagle, and Ostraka's come up favourite here, B Shin on $5. In from $6.50. It looks like a big move this morning. V8 is $5.50. Komochi $5.50. War Machine $8. Moravia $10. Port Lockroy $10. Stretton Angel $10. Skybird $10. I have to ask Nico which way it's going there. Bases loaded $19. Well timed $21. Quick look at a couple of replays here. A bit of a deja vu here. We see Komochi in no man's land in the Manikato in the green Yulong colours she is.
So she never got cover until this literal point here. She was the one horse that got cast wide the trip and, entitled to drop out and really never travelled because she was never comfortable. And as you see, so she fights most of these horses, often runs, third or fourth?
Fourth.
I think she runs. Yeah, so she's, look at her there. She's
she balances
a bulldog,
back
right?
up.
Yeah, she's a bulldog. She's had enough time to get through that run, and she should be peaking on Saturday.
You got Ostraka in the red and white. You got Port Lockroy behind.
Striker behind the leader. I think Moravia's outside the leader too. They all had their chance here, very controlled tempo. So that's probably against Moravia. Ostraka's obviously had the absolute dream run, travelled absolutely beautifully throughout and gets out and sprints. And Port Lockroy's run up their arse a few times, and Chomi Sherry's flailing around there and is probably strongest on the line, arguably. So, yeah, that's obviously a key lead-up race for as well.
I was a bit worried with Port Lockroy second up here. I thought now he might be looking for a bit further than 1,300.
Yeah, I think he's a 1,200-metre horse, a 1,400-metre top. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned about that. I'm just concerned that they've got the same Willy Wonka sitting on its back. But, no more replays. I think Komochi is the right form, straight out. The race is a bit of a nightmare from the map. There's probably, there's 14 runners and 12 of them probably have similar speed. How they sort themselves out is going to be very, very interesting. You would expect because of that, some will push, and because of the nature of the race, some will push. So I'm expecting a genuine tempo. Ostraka's an interesting one because they rode it cold and it went like far lap, and then they took advantage of the gate the other day and it went well as well. So yeah, it was $9 24 hours ago, and that was just wrong. Port Lockroy was $17 24 hours ago, and that was just wrong. And Komochi was a bit shorter and is getting out to 9-2, which I think is wrong. So if you caught the market on all three of those, you're a genius. But at the moment, I think Komochi has to go round best way. I think Port Lockroy is still sort of $12, something like that. It's the worst off at the weights from that race. I think it meets Ostraka like 6 kilos worse or something like that. I might be wrong, or it's 4.5 or something crazy. So there is a decent swing there, and I do think that Shin will navigate a path on Ostraka and it'll run very well, probably $5 as short as you want. So the way I'd be playing the race now, Komochi has to be a winner. Port Lockroy goes around a winner, and I'd be chopping out at the moment. Don't want to lose on the race if Ostraka comes down the middle because he's going so well. And the one horse that scares the pants off me is Skybird. I don't think it's looked ready to go. Its first 2 runs, back 100 metres. It's drawn inside. It's going to need all the luck in the world. It's going to be in the worst spot you've ever seen, but it's that horse that could poke through and just jam you. But, you can't have them all. And I just think Komochi's far and away got the best setup, the best weighted horse. I don't think V8 went... You compare the runs in the Manikato and the setups, Komochi should beat V8 home for mine. It's got a horror draw to V8. So, yeah, Komochi is just extremely well placed. And then the 2 Annabelle horses are flying as well. I think they're the clear 3, and then Skybird will jam us right in the clack hole.
Skybird going to Sydney. Nico, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, she's staying in Melbourne. So she might not be the horse that jams you, but War Machine's going to Sydney. So they were the 2 that were dual accepted. They were probably key to both races. War Machine was, I think, $4 or something in the Moonga, so he's come out. So he goes there, and Skybird, to my knowledge, will stay in Melbourne.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this race, Nico?
Tough race. I thought, I was similar to Walt. I thought Port Lockroy and Ostraka just absolutely flying, stables flying. So they were probably the way I was looking, V8 I thought would improve a bit from that first up run from the yard. So maybe he's just going to peak third up. Wide draw here. Maybe they're riding a bit conservative. There's a $10 million race or $5 million race or whatever it is in 2 weeks or 3 weeks' time. So this is another one of those races where there's a few horses here with some intent and there's a few with not a whole heap waiting for grand final day. So, yeah, trappy sort of race, but I think the market's pretty well identified. The key chances was a striker, Komochi, and I think Port Lockroy is the one at a price.
Yeah, if I had to have a free bet on the race, I'd probably back a striker. I thought giving them all the weight. I thought he did it. If he was ever going to get beat, it was last start. But yeah, I'm a little bit cooled by the non-grand final day. All right, let's have a look at race 9. It's the King Charles. Hopefully he's out there. 1,600 metre Group 1. I think Pride of Jenny, $2.15 in from $2.35. Price taken. Fangirl 4 into $3.80. Choa Wolf $8.50. Celestial Legend in the Abyss $12. My Oberon $15 in from 17, a bit strange. Amelia's Jewel $16, Tom Kitten $20, Pericles $26 on the backup, dropping back in distance, and then Zugotia $26, and then New Energy $71 there. Let's have a look at a couple of replays here. And the first one is Pride of Jenny.
Where's she in this race?
She's out in front, John.
How's the form reading out of this race? Oh my God.
Mr. Brightside, Deny Knowledge.
Nutrition.
Antino, and then you got Attrition who's come out and won as well. So looks all right. You've pretty much got 3 winners
what
from the race.
What she does to the horses is the most. You look at them all. Under the whip, bat gone. Tino's come out 1 by 8. Attrition's out outside the leader and gapped him in Sydney or beaten them pretty well. They all had their chance to go past her. What she does to horses is the key to this horse, and I've not seen too many that do what she does.
This is a nice bit of work from Fangirl in the $1 million 7 stakes.
To be honest, this is like a barrier trial, right?
Yes.
This is a joke compared to... So that's Major Bill out in front. A lot of people telling me that Major Bill's going to take on Pride of Jenny out in front. So, I think they went about 10 lengths below here and the other race went 15 above. So to me, that's 4 seconds. And, that's a very, very different race to what you're seeing here. And she's spreading past, like Royal Patronage. The form's not my Oberon. They're solid horses, but... yeah, it's very interesting.
Choa Wolf wide with Tommy Kitten. Here they come, right down the outside, and Choa Wolf drops him like a hot
This
pot.
race sort of ties in with the Fangirl form, right? To me, it didn't look a vintage Epsom, and it wasn't a fast run Epsom. These horses come down the outside; they were pretty dominant. Tom Kitten surely looking for 2,000. I would have thought, Choa Wolf 2,000 back to the mile, back up to 2,000 is not ideal either. But because Pride of Jenny's in this race. Do you need the 2,000 metre profile to run well, which they've got, and so does Celestial Legend. So that's all our replays.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never found this horse in my life, and I just don't understand how they're going to beat her. She has to not show up, or something crazy has to happen, I think, for her to get beat. I was surprised I saw Ladbroke sort of poking their head out at 260 or something yesterday, just because she looks so obvious, and it again, it sets up as a great race. You've got all the horses drawn where they want. Fangirl drawn soft, Sea Wolf drawn soft, Celestial Legends even drawn soft. So they're all going to spend no energy in the run until they try and chase this mare. And she's drawn absolutely ideally out wide. I think she's even drawn wider than Major Bill, which to me was important. She'll just get a look at it. I wouldn't think that Adam's going to have a look at him and go, well, let's rock and roll. It certainly doesn't suit his horse. He just gets the perfect drag behind her, which he suits him. He's a high cruising speed sort of middle distance horse. So it makes sense for him to let her go and just sit, wherever and just let her go. So she should be doing her own thing out in front. And then, Fangirl's, I don't think she's only ever won 1 race off a strong tempo. She's the sort of horse that drives a lot of people crazy because you would believe that with her racing style, she would win by further off faster speeds a lot of the time, but we saw her tackle Pride of Jenny off a little different setup at the end of last prep, and she was gassed nearly on the turn chasing. So, I don't understand how you could really make a strong case for her here without something untoward happening, and I can't see Amelia's Jewel turning the table. I think, Sea Wolf, Celestial Legend, Tom Kitten will run really honest races, and maybe, if you're not... Pride of Jenny's, it's backable, isn't it? But I think taking exotics with those guys to run the placings is probably where it's at. I could even throw Major Beal in to hold on for a place, but I just heavily in the Pride of Jenny corner, which I've never been before.
So this might be the run that she just explodes,
or her head blows off. Yeah, one of the two.
Nico, do you see it a similar way?
Well, it's a fascinating race. I think Jenny will have a lot of market support. I could see her starting like $1.90 or $1.80 in that sort of range, just because of how well she's going, the uncontested lead, her ratings compared to Fangirl. The last few, she's rated Fast Furious. Fangirl's peaks are right alongside her, but just off what they did last up, which the market puts a lot of emphasis on now, you think that they have to be in Jenny's corner. I think if you want to be on,
too, right? Sorry, the fee and form franking it doesn't will help market support as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you want to be on Fangirl, like this is her backyard, 1,600 meters, Randwick, drying track will probably suit her for back down to like a soft 5. That's where her best ratings come. It's just whether she can, even if she does run that best rating, is it good enough to catch Pride of Jenny if she's near her best as well? That's the question. I'd be surprised if anything else won, just looking at that. I think it's probably a racing 2. The way the market's going to trend, I think you're going to get closer to $5 Fangirl, so I'd be happy to wait if you're looking to back there, but it didn't seem a race where I wanted to be too involved in, just too hard for me. So I'd probably lean Fangirl's way just at the value, because I don't think at their best there's not a heap between them, but Pride of Jenny just holds so many advantages with their racing pattern. So, yeah, just tough race.
And if it hoses down, you'll definitely get a better price Fangirl too. So, yeah, I sort of agree with Nico that if you get powder dry if you want to back Fangirl.
Definitely a race to watch and bet late. I couldn't agree more. All the market's only going to go one way here. My question is, I don't have Zugotya rider down, and she's the horse that I would have thought that Waller, she's the sacrificial lamb. She's just got to be the horse that gets punched.
If they do that
out,
to her, she will be at Randwick Equine that afternoon.
Well,
and would you do that to a horse that's worth 5 to 10 million in its own right, Zugotya? Like, it's a big sacrificial lamb. And I don't think she's fast. Like, she could do it. She could lead over 1,200. There's no doubt she could do it. But, well, the police would be there after the race in the mounting yard, and the vets would be there scooping her up off the track. So it'd be a big play, wouldn't it?
I can just see Zugotya trying to drag
Who's
the field.
riding it? Jake Bracey Holmes? Is that what you're trying to say, that the wild man's coming in to ride Zugotya?
Has Rachel King got a ride in the race?
Mate, she could lead on.
She could be on it.
She could lead on anything.
What happens if Rachel King just gets nominated, just boom, thrown on Zugotya, and then Fangirl sits on bum?
Rachel King is a Breeders' Cup jockey. She doesn't even care about the King Jail Stakes. She's going there to ride the Breeders' Cup, mate. Her mind's on other things.
Yeah. I'm going to have a tiny bet on Fangirl just out of pure interest, and hopefully James McDonald can do a Blake Shin and somehow pull a rabbit out of his backside. But more of a watching race for mine. But
it's another great spectacle. We bitch about racing New South Wales, and it's always act of God how things work out. But so far, so good. These key races are awesome. Even the Golden Eagles are an interesting race, not worth the money it is. But the Everest and King Charles are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Amelia Stewart got really close to her one day, didn't she?
Yeah, she had a bit of interest. And listening to Tommy, he said they've been riding it too close. So I expect her to be basically ridden stone cold, which, it adds something to the race, doesn't it? Because she definitely can't chase and win, except she did that night a long time ago. But she hasn't been the same horse since either.
Yeah, broke her heart. Fascinating. Pride of Jenny on top, and watch the betting fluctuations there if you want to take her on, because maybe betting late is the go, or just chime in the 110% markets at TopSport on Friday if you don't like the fave. Racingwatch.com.au for more Johnny stuff. So you've got the Discord channel, or you've got the Telegram. So if you want to get stuck into that, you can in a couple of various formats. But he doesn't sleep. He's 7 days a week. He's an absolute freak show. So make sure you check that out. Friday night down at Tasmania, Nico, is where you'll be burning the midnight oil. Race 1, it's the Saddle Up Croft, the Crew, Your Racing Podcast 1420, iconic race. And you think Bunker Bob is the big improver here, the grey horse in the Blues Silks here. Tell us why.
Yeah, I think this horse has just improved this campaign. His last campaign, he was thereabouts in a few of those races, sort of 2 to 3 lengths off him. Then he come back first up here, high rating race. They've gone around 4 lengths above relative to maiden class average, which is very rare in Tasmania. So the way the race panned out and the night, you wanted to be nearer the rails. So thought he did a good job to stick on for second. I think he's come back a little bit better from barrier number 1. Thought that was probably key to the 2 tips. There's a bit of rain predicted like everywhere down at Launceston. So I thought first use of the track is probably going to be big for this meeting. So I thought him being race 1, number 1, barrier 1, a few things in his favour, and I just saw up to 1,400 metres, improved horse, should probably land in the first 3 and get every possible chance. So, first use of the track will be a big advantage also.
Billy the Great, the 13, looks a bit of a danger on my stuff.
Yep, had no luck sort of first up, and then last up was hitting the line strongly on that same night, the bias track. So she came home very well, rated well, maybe stalks the speed. She does have to go from 1,000 and 1,100 up to 14, but is drawn well. I think I had her second pick and probably clear second pick. So I think one of them probably takes it out, but I was just happy to lean Bunker Bob's way with a bit more experience on his side and potentially a few more things in his favour, 12 to 14.
Price? What price do we need for old Bob, Bunker Bob?
I think it'd be favourite. $3 plus would be good.
Beautiful stuff. $3 plus Bunker Bob and Scooty Saver on the 13. Launceston Race 2, it's the TopSport own Spring Maiden, 12-20 metres here, and Tuskegee is the one you like here. Red with the green sleeves that hits the line quite nicely, back second last.
Yeah, he's quite a smart horse, this Tuskegee. I liked his most recent run here. This was in a fast run race. Billy the Great's also in this race in the green sleeves, and he just sort of works his way through the field, hits the line strongly. I think up to 1,200 metres is a positive for him. Lauren Bingley goes back aboard. She's able to take 2 kilos off, so it gets him to 54 kilos. I don't mind these Alabama Expresses. The more I see of them, the more I tend to like them. I think they've been sort of slow maturing horses, but they all seem to move really well. They've got a lot of scope, and I think this guy's just sort of getting towards his best. His debut run was quite sound. At Devonport over 1,000. His trials before that were pretty good as well. So good stable and should just get a nice run, probably somewhere in behind the speed. There's a few horses here that have shown some ability, but I don't know if they have the upside of him, and I think he comes through the strongest form. So in a race where he just looks set to peak third up, out of a fast run race last up, prior to that he was a bit of a sectional star on debut. All roads lead to him, and I think the breed is just a slow maturing sort of breed, and that seems what he's been. So happy to back him in Tuskegee.
Looks like a good bet here, Nico. Lauren Bingley, jockey, scary, not too scary.
They're all a bit scary down there, but she has really improved probably the last sort of 3 or 4 months. She had a fair while out, I think. She had a broken leg or something like that, and then she's come back and she does ride quite well. Her stats are quite good for a rider with the claim. So I think in time she'll probably be one of the better riders in Tasmania, but she's obviously still an apprentice, so she got a little bit to learn. But yeah, she's a rider that does get the job done. So I'm relatively confident backing her in what's a very even jockey's room at the moment.
Will they bet $3 about her?
Oh, tough to sort of say. Has the SP profile. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 250. But sometimes they can sort of miss horses like this down there. But out of the fast run race last up, I'd sort of think if we were getting better than $3, that would be good. But it wouldn't shock me if it was a little bit shorter, given there's not a whole heap of depth in this race.
Outstanding. Channeling in a DK here with race 1 over the 1,400 metres, Bunker Bob, and then race 2 over the 1,200, Tuskegee. So 2 nice little bets early in the night at Launceston, and that's Nico's best ways on Friday. Make sure to check out tasracing.com.au if you want hosted coverage online. So they've got the mounting yard, you'll see Snapper in there, and then you got the pre- and post-race interviews. So if you want to sink your teeth into a smaller jurisdiction, make sure you check out tasracing.com.au. The service there is brilliant. Great website. Got all the sectionals and stuff. So it's just like their water. Just so pure, the racing down in Tasmania. Donnie, he's got Calipore in the Cup. Last week, Shamadan and Belvedere boys no good, but he reckons he's got a get-out bet for us at Eagle Farm.
G'day, lads. The best bet this weekend comes up in the last at Eagle Farm. So that's going to be run after the last at Randwick and Caulfield on Everest and Caulfield Cup Day, so I'm prepared to dig you out of trouble. It's race 10 at Eagle Farm, number 15, Ellie Baby. Love the way it hit the line last start over 1,200. 1,400 third up, the suit's perfect. It should sit just off the speed and come flying late. Good luck, lads. What a weekend. Let's go.
Oh, hate to be a beer in Melbourne with Donnie and his mates doing the rounds down there, but this is a bit of a sneaky one, this one, I think. I haven't done the race that deeply, but Cartwheels goes okay, and then Ellie Baby, it might be better suited 1,400 metres second up there, so I can sort of see where he's going with this.
Jesus Christ. If we're balls deep, Ellie Baby from 12 in a 20-horse race. So, Sleepy Jimmy from the, well, let's hope it doesn't come to that. But if we are there, let's hope Donnie's
a man for us. Oh, love to see Donnie at 6 o'clock on Saturday.
Considering how up and about he was for that when he's normally a 2-second wonder man, he could be ready to rumble.
Jesus Christ. If you see him out at the track, make sure you buy him a beer. TopSport Steam, Randwick, race 9, number 10, Fangirl. This could be my bet, 667 at $4. So interesting. They're thinking the price is going to shorten and we think it's going to drift. I've already spoken about the race, so we'll move right along. Caulfield race 2, number 7 is the next one. It's Gallant Sun, one there for you, Nico. In the Gothic, you've backed the 50-1 chance.
Yeah, I was chips in, Gallant Sun first up, and he just probably had a little bit of improvement to come in a very fast run race that probably just saw him out late, but he does go Meech to Purton, which is definitely a positive at the moment. So, yeah, he's a talented horse, Gallant Sun. I think if he won this, he'd probably go straight to the Coolmore. So I sort of said after the night, I think he's a group horse, and he gets his chance there on Saturday.
Caulfield race 3, number 1 is Keenland, 1,000 at $3 there. So a bit of confidence about that horse. Now into $2.60. Jay Allen, Bussett and Young, DK's camp.
He's still aiming at the spring champion, Nico, potentially?
Keenland. Well, I think given this, he probably would go to the Derby because I think the spring champion's next week. I think it's the same day as the Vars. So
It is now.
It is now.
Yeah, seems pretty steady form. I couldn't take $3. He sort of won well last start, but there's not a lot between these three rods. I don't think we've seen anything really jumping off the page from the Derby point of view, especially in Melbourne. So if you can find something a bit off Broadway or out wide in the next week or two, they could definitely have an impact if they can get in because, Keenland's probably number 1 pick at the moment and, not too sure about him.
Caulfield 4, Janice Meadow, $250 at $9 here in the Ethereal.
I found her. I thought she'd be the improver out of the manifold. She just seems like she's been set for this race in the Oaks. I've been very quiet on her in 2 runs. Was back in the field in the manifold when it was pouring rain. Just a weird race. Happy to forgive that. I think in an even race again, it's similar with the fillies. There's nothing really jumping out of the ground for the Oaks. So she might be one right stable. They just seem to get it right near grand final day. So I think she could improve.
Race 10, number 3, Poseidon Ruler, $250 at $10. Hopefully I've got that one right, but
it's an interesting horse. I've been waiting for this horse to explode, and it's in against Donnie. Oh, Jesus. This was trained by a bit of a battler trainer in New South Wales, and it's moved up there, and it's had a couple of little quiet little
Chris
pipe
Muntz,
openers.
the Munster.
And if the Munster presses the button, Donnie's horse could be in a bit of trouble, Ellie baby. It's got a motor, this horse.
All right, that's a pretty big show from us, Caulfield Cup, big weather watch. Check out your email, your Bet Doctor email on Friday. We'll probably push the button 1 or 2 o'clock, unless I forget. But I think we'll just hold off a little bit given the weather. And then 3 till 4 o'clock is the 110% markets at TopSport, unmissable. Make sure you get around them. And
he's put the Moonga in. You said I just saw his email come through. So the Moonga's part of this. There's Everest. Golden Eagle, is it? Or King Charles, and then the 3 race in Melbourne, I think. I think he's doing 5. So
yeah. And I think he's betting best of the best all 9 races at Caulfield.
Yeah, there's 9 best of the best as well.
So he's going to have a go.
Just a multi-a-thon. Just try and absolutely bend him over and get that cash back he won off us last week.
That's good though. This is what it's about. It's about a fight and it's about a battle. It's not about a circus. It's about punting.
Well, it should be about competition on price. That's right.
Yes.
And us versus them, not praying for a whatever. Yeah. So anyway, no, I think it's a good initiative.
Can't wait. Cracking Saturday racing, and hopefully we've got some good stories to tell next week. And big thanks to you, Nico. 1 out down there. Good luck on the weekend.